evening and welcome to another MTV Community Forum. I'm your host Byron Kemp, and welcome wherever you are. And of course our co-host Chris Diali. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Byron, and again we welcome everyone who is viewing the program this evening.
Chris, we have an interesting compact program tonight. Besides our little chit chat we have with us, we're going to have entrepreneur and media personality Junior George. He's of course the creator of the popular Ride Along and podcast, and I would say a pioneer in Grenada evolving transportation sector. And we also have two brothers from the Rastafari Organization of Centralization to talk about the legalization, decriminalization of cannabis and what it means. So stay with us, viewers. We have an interesting program for you. Chris.
Yes, well, from a chit-chat point of view, we're keeping it tight this evening, so I only have a few items I want to talk about. Of course, the explosion in St. Andrews, which occurred yesterday, or day before yesterday.
Yesterday.
And the destruction it caused. We're hearing from different reports that it is something that went on in the disposal of dynamite, which they use in quarry works. Mm-hmm. As a regular thing. If you want to mash up big stones and so on, you use that. But what is a little bit disturbing here is that the magnitude of this explosion was significant. Destroyed a lot of houses in the immediate vicinity. We're hearing as much as 20-something houses got affected, and even some schools and so on was involved. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even talking about the people in the surrounding area and how it may affect them as well, psychologically and otherwise. Yeah. And it calls into question what is gravel and concrete's protocol as it relates to safety and proper disposal of such explosive material. And that is a concern that we must lodge and have discussions on. I don't know what you thought about what happened, Byron.
Well, Chris, the first thing is that no one got seriously injured. There's one person, an employee that I heard had some eardrums problem, the noise, the vibrations. So that's the first thing, and we are very fortunate and pleased given the level, extent of this explosion, because it was felt as far as Mount Morris, across the island, different parishes throughout the island. And the damages you talk about, I'm informed, well, based on the news, that there's an investigation taking place, the authorities are involved, NAGMA is involved. We hear the community is talking out, they're concerned about what compensation, if any, they'd receive, how the matter. But the critical thing is, I think what's important is to that investigation determine how it happened, why it happened, and the kind of procedures that will come thereafter to ensure that something of that nature, magnitude, doesn't happen. You know, so that would be my concern. Very unfortunate, but very fortunate in that no one was seriously
it offers gravel and concrete an opportunity to fix the problem.
Precisely.
In this particular issue. Constitutional change. We have a lot of talk about constitutional change and what Dr. Alexis is proposing versus we have pros and cons. What is your thoughts on what is going on?
Look,
there's a lot of talk in the atmosphere.
Chris, sometimes I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed to be, for anyone, myself, having to show allegiance to the king or the queen or some monarchy. It shouldn't happen, shouldn't be happening 50 plus years after our independence, you know. So there's no question for me about changes there, removing the monarchy. But it's a bigger issue of constitutional reform that we need in a broader sense, because we have other issues there to pick up, whether it's the Caribbean Court of Justice or whatever. So yes. So I am inclined to support this. I would say by any means necessary, literally, Chris, you know. But I'm to understand that other territories, including Jamaica and others, have gone that route, where they have seen that you don't need to go to a referendum to change this allegiance.
To make this change.
To make this change. So my view is that if we can do it, if it's legal, if it's within our constitution to amend it, directly with a simple majority. I heard the opposition leader tonight, and I thought that was a fair comment, saying that, look, we support it. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But what she spoke about, and I agree with that, is that there must be some form of consultation, information to the community. You know, it's important the community understand what the process is and what it will mean, you know. So hopefully this will happen. But the advocates of it, I've heard lawyers come forward and say, look, we don't support this. Senior lawyers, that we should go to a referendum. Look, if the Constitution makes provisions that we don't need a referendum to change this, by all
But
means,
the counter argument
Yeah.
from some quarters is
Yeah.
that, you know, we tried reformation of the Constitution, which failed badly.
yes,
And it seemed to have
Yeah.
been more political in essence when we tried it.
that's correct.
When we were getting things for the CCJ, terms
Yeah.
of limits for
Yeah.
prime ministership, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. And we ended up in a situation where, of course, those changes to reform
Yeah,
required a two-thirds majority.
yes,
Dr. Alexis and his team has proposed that this doesn't.
yeah,
And there's a legal back and forth with that too. Some legal experts believe no,
yeah,
you need to have the two-thirds majority. And then some question the substantive nature of the thing.
mhm,
Shouldn't we go for more things like substantive, like CCJ
yeah,
approval, because
Yeah.
we pay monies to the CCJ, but we don't have access to the appellate. It's only the jurisdiction part of the court. So is it that we take in things
Yeah.
low fruit,
yeah,
as we
Yeah.
may say,
yeah.
and not look for bigger fruit in this thing?
Yeah.
So I suppose that is some of the counter arguments.
Yes, because I think what we'll do, and I think it'd be important for our program too, to bring the main actors, the main players here, and let's discuss it, the pro and the cons of it. So we'll see what happens.
Brian, are you going to cricket when it starts tomorrow
Yes,
for
I'm
the
going
5
tomorrow.
days? The
I'm
test?
going tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow.
Even
Chris.
with West Indies' dismal performance. in the
Yes, I'm
first
going to
test?
cricket because part of it is the atmosphere. You know, like it's an opportunity to go and get out. Gemma is going also, so we'll go out and we'll have fun down there. You know, cricket or no cricket. You know.
I need some fried chips and jacks
Exactly.
and so on.
Yeah. Not all the days, and it's free for school children, so it's also minimal price. I think $5 or $10. I'm not sure, but it's not very expensive.
Yeah, it's encourage
So,
participation, but I mean, the
So-
bigger issue I think West Indies cricket faces is that one day and T20 is fast overcoming tests,
Yeah,
even though they believe test has its
Yeah.
role.
yeah,
But people not from an audience point of view, a man will find or a person will find it difficult to sit down for 3 to 5 days to get a result.
that is true too.
Even
That
though
is
it
true
tests the cricketers' mettle.
Yes, but we want everybody to come out tomorrow. Let's have fun. Let's celebrate the refurbished stadium, and we're gonna have fun. Chris,
Viewers, yes. Well, viewers, this is the end of Chit Chat this evening. As we said, it's going to be short and tight. So we take a break now and we get into our first segment, which is Ride Along Junior.
George.
That is going to be joining us to talk about his program and to also talk about his new entrepreneur pitch in the transportation sector.
Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, see our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, we're taking care of Grenada.
Calling the CARICOM community, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum, Active 2025, is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, resilience and transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
Grenada. Are you ready for Spice Mass 2025?
It's time once again as Fit for Life Medical Services, Mitchell's Health and Wellness Pharmacy, Follow Me Fitness, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, presents Fitness Revolution 11. Follow Me, starting on July 7th to the 31st, Monday through to Thursday, 5 to 6:30 p.m. Tantine and Montrouge, St. George's. Get ready for 4 weeks of calorie blasting, fat burning, body toning, endurance building fun. All this for just $70 EC. Register now at Fit for Life Medical Services or go to Fed. Call 404-9355 for more info. Follow the energy.
Follow the hype.
Follow me to Fitness Revolution 11.
Welcome back, viewers, to MTV Community Forum. Of course, as mentioned earlier, our first guest this evening is entrepreneur, media personality, Junior George. Of course, you don't need much introduction, Junior. You're the creator, of course, of the popular Ride Along podcast, and of course, you're a pioneer in Grenada's evolving transportation sector in a new dimension. But I want to start first with, of course, Junior, Ride Along, you know. It's become a household name, Junior, here and abroad. For those unfamiliar, maybe there's people who aren't familiar, but tell us what the show is about and what inspired you to start it.
Well, Ride Along Live. I think to understand Ride Along Live, you have to understand my introduction in media, which went back when I was 9 years old. I'm not going to go through the whole story.
Okay.
But it was before Ride Along Live, there was a network that I created called TCN, Total Caribbean Network. And the idea for TCN was to basically bring all Caribbean broadcast platforms together. And we were successfully able to get MTV, was on the platform, a number of other networks as well. So folks in the diaspora was watching these programs from Grenada around the Caribbean on the box. So I built a IPTV box. Before that, we had Time Plus Beats. So Ride Along was just a stepping stone to a child from Time Plus Beats, TCN. So it was a long time coming me in the media field.
But the particular format, it's different. So the question is, what made you choose this format, this particular format, and how has the public responded? I mean, like,
well, I think a lot of people don't quite understand the idea initially. Like we have Ride, right, which people have seen now on the road, and they think like Ride is a child of Ride Along, but it's actually the other way around. Ride was created back in 2014.
Okay.
Right, I created Ride in 2014, and then after a while doing so much television, I just decided that I didn't want to do television anymore. And then I started to get involved in transportation. And then the bug bit me again, and I have to get back in. But I decided that, you know, I want to do a program that makes it flexible. So if I'm on the road, I stop somewhere in Manhattan and I need to go live and just turn the camera on and go live from wherever. So that's sort of where Ride Along started, the birth of Ride Along, just that concept.
So would you say Ride Along is more political or entertainment driven, or mix of both?
No,
how would you place it?
Not political at all.
well, one of the last interviews, and we're going to come to that, but what you tell me from your interviews, I mean, which would you say has been the most impactful interview you've done so far? What stands out for you?
Well, I think Ride Along Live and just the concept of everyone having a story to tell. That is the mantra. That is what we preach. Everyone have a story to tell. Now, that might mean that you may have a difference of opinion, right? You might be someone who might disagree with my opinion, but you have a story to tell. You might be someone that's successful
Yeah.
or fail in certain aspect, but you
Yeah.
do have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
just a platform to give everyone an opportunity to share and tell their story. So everyone has a story to tell. So it's not political. I mean, we have conversations
Yeah.
with political figures.
I know one of your recent interview with the PRO of the NBC created a lot of waves thereafter
Yeah.
when he made a comment of having access to the documents filed at the Integrity Commission. Anyway, but Chris, I'll pass on to you. I'm not going to go there.
Junior, I want to take you up on, recently, and this is from the perspective of being a journalist versus being somebody who's hosting a program and an advocate on
Right.
certain topics.
Right.
So recently we had a thing in Grenada with Jenny Simon,
Yes.
where it was perpetrated by some people, even the president of the MWAG, insinuating that if you're not a journalist, you're supposed to be restricted on what you ask and what you don't ask. And I'm paraphrasing here, but when the prime minister or whoever or minister does a media thing, they never say journalists have to be qualified to commentate. So I found that a little bit
Yeah. Yeah.
strange. But that being said, what is your take from a journalistic point of view versus an advocate who wants to ask questions, albeit it may be difficult or not, to our leaders in various aspects of our country?
Well, I think that's a great question. Let me qualify that by saying I'm not a journalist.
Right. Not me.
Right. I've never promoted myself as a journalist. I've never. I'm a vlogger. I'm an opinionated vlogger, and oftentimes people conflict someone who has a platform and do a program to that of a journalist. I think a journalist is someone who, they get this side, they get this side. There's nothing about what they think. It's about what
Correct.
the sides are. I'm different. I might give you my personal opinion because that's how I feel,
Yeah.
right? I may review something because that's how it affects me, right? But I'm not a journalist. So to answer your question, I believe that if the government or anyone for that matter is having, whether it's a press conference or whatever the case is, I believe that there might be persons with platforms and it should not disqualify anyone from coming into that venue and asking a question. Because legitimately, whether it's Jenny Simon or Junior George or whoever, I believe that they have an audience to satisfy. I have an audience to satisfy, and they ask me a ton of questions.
Yep.
And sometimes I don't know the answer. So the best way to get that answer is to go into a press conference or whatever and ask those questions to satisfy that audience. So I think that it should be open. It should not only be open to
and,
journalists.
We tread a dangerous ground when you talk about free speech and
Right.
the ability for free speech. It also means free questions as well.
Absolutely.
With respect, of course, and not to damage anybody's reputation and so on. But when you're in the public domain, you open yourself up to that.
Absolutely.
And you have to be prepared. One of the things I want to get your opinion on is, in Grenada, we don't encourage debates, whether it's at a political level.
Right.
We only see it at Parliament.
Yes.
And even then, the debates are questionable when you look at content. So the question is, as we go forward, first to grow as a nation, 51 plus years independent, is it that something we should encourage?
Right. It seems to me, right, that whenever you hear the word debate, it always seems like you're trying to cause confusion or problems. You're trying to ask. I have this a lot. I hear this a lot on my program. Like I may have a suggestion for a program, and I might pass it by my producer, and she said, "Okay, yes, get this one and get an opposing view." And we would get one side, and we would vigorously try to get that opposing view. But I don't know sometimes, and oftentimes, the other side is not willing to engage in the opposing view. Whether they see the platform as left or right or wherever, I think that me reaching out is sufficient enough to say, well, I am interested to hear what you have to say. And I think that we, Ride Along, from that perspective, stands alone and apart from a lot of the platforms who might be political on one side or the other. We actually reach out to each side. Now, whether they take us on the offer or not, that's on them. So sometimes you might see,
We have that problem too.
right?
Yeah.
Case in point, we had a program, hosted my morning program. I'm not even the host of that program. We invited the opposition leader, and they initially accepted the offer, and then they declined. After they found out that it was in fact on Ride Along. I don't know what about Ride Along that people seem to they just sometimes don't want to come.
I think our leaders tend to be insecure and want to dodge
Because
our
we experienced that
questions.
here also.
Yeah. So, Junior, from where you sit on the digital platform that you're using, and I hear you talking about since you're a young man, you're into this digitization of the platforms and giving people access to express themselves and do. What kind of following? Do you have numbers on your following and
Yeah,
how it has
absolutely.
grown in the years from Ride to Ride Along?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I told a story. I preface everything with a story because everything is not just as it is. But for me, I remember when I started, I had this one person watching my program, and just one person. And I used to do my program and cater to that one person. I would do everything to that one person. And then that one person turned to two. And then it grew. When I saw 10, I was like, wow, I've reached where I got to reach, right?
Making progress.
I'm making real progress, man. I'm really breaking barriers.
Right.
To date, right, we are hitting 10 million in 28 days,
Wow.
right? Last week was a shock because we hit 11.5 million, right? And that tells you that it is beyond the borders of Grenada. Like for instance,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Like
Yeah.
we did a program about what's happening in Guyana, and then I got a call from Parliament in Guyana. That's the impact.
Yeah.
So it's not just Grenada. And when we think that, we're dealing with issues and dealing with this border, it's beyond the borders of Grenada. St. Vincent is the same thing. We had this
Does that speak to the fact that we have to change, and I use this example with we know about newspapers, and when COVID came, we couldn't get printed newspapers, we went digital.
Right.
I don't think we'll ever go back to printing.
No, we never went back.
And it's the same thing about the platform.
Yes.
The reach, because everybody has a cell phone.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody could tune. The penetration of cell phones is greater than 100%. So is that a transformative way of how news will reach the average person?
Well, I think so. And I think that persons like myself, people who really understand social media, because I studied this. This is not me just going and just doing something. I know what would make people react. I know at what time they would react. I know what time they would feel.
There's some science
Yeah,
behind
so
this.
there's a lot of science. It's not like this platform is at a point where we guess it. We know. If I put out a certain content, I know who I'm going to
They're
reach. I
behaving
know who
like
I'm
the
going
big business that do data
Yeah.
mining.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, because this digital media gives you the ability to do that. You look at your insights and you have 65, 70% women following. You know what time they tune in, what their interests are.
So you have the data on
Have
which
the data,
to
right?
work with.
And that's where you need to study that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that a lot of people, I don't know if they don't study the analytics, but I study this thing like deep.
Junior, we want to move on to the other hat. I want to talk about the second hat, your
Right.
entrepreneurship in the transport sector.
Right.
You've introduced e-bikes and what's called tuk-tuks to Grenada. What motivated
What
this?
is that
venture?
tuk-tuk?
Yeah.
What is a tuk-tuk?
Well,
Tell us
yeah.
about this.
Well,
Because this is new, it is innovative.
Yeah.
We've not seen this before, and also you could home in there. What is the reception?
Right.
What are you facing?
Well, as I said, Ride Along is the child of Ride.
Okay.
Ride started back in 2014. So I was always interested in transportation, and then I started a project that Uber got interested in, and they made me their main point person for the New York area. So to date, I have a contract with probably one of the first person probably in the United States to have that type of contract and arrangement with Uber, whereby I had the responsibility of teaching all the students that was deactivated from the platform. So as soon as you get deactivated from the Uber system, Uber says you got to go take a class. And that class was my class.
Okay.
Right? So I did that for about 5-6 years. Right? So the transportation thing is something that I've learned from the best. I've seen how it works. I understood. I understand how it functioned. And then I'm looking at customer service, and I'm looking at, this thing could really work in a place like Grenada. Right? So I started to travel. I traveled the world. I went to Ghana, I went to Nigeria, I went to India. I mean, I just traveled the world. And I've seen how they use different transportation. And the tuk-tuk is something you go to Sri Lanka, you go to places like Ghana, Accra, and those places, and you see tuk-tuks running in the street like regular, just on the road. And my passion was to just envision how that would be in Grenada. Right, the excitement. So we decided.
Did the terrain matter?
Yeah.
The terrains matter or terrain?
No, because
Okay.
essentially.
What is the tuk-tuk?
What is the tuk-tuk? What is the tuk-tuk? That we need to qualify that.
Yeah.
Right. So a tuk-tuk is a motorized rickshaw.
Okay.
Right. So in
That
New York,
explains it.
if you go to Times Square, not Times Square, 59th Street, you see there are rickshaws where people are paddling bicycles and they have passengers in the back. So that's not motorized.
That's an Asian thing.
Right,
Yeah.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So that's big in New York.
Yeah.
So the motorized rickshaw is very popular in Sri Lanka, India, and those places as regular transportation. That's they have more than anything else on the street. So it was just my
But do you
vision.
see that as a disruptor to transport in countries like ours, small islands? Because here you may have a tuk-tuk. The price to take a tuk-tuk might be, I don't know, $1, $2, $50. If you had to take a taxi, it's $20 and $40.
Right.
If you have to take a bus, depending on where you're coming from, it's $5 and $10 and $15. Do you see tuk-tuk making that a disruptor to the transport?
Not
and making it more-
necessarily.
when I say not disruption from the point of, not good, but disruption from the point of offering the average traveler
Right.
an option
Right.
to get and move around freer.
Right.
Because we have limitations with our transport system.
Right. Well, I think that my understanding of life is to make things easier, facilitate a better way for.
And by the way, that's how Uber started. Uber is a major disruptor.
Yeah, major. And I got a chance to meet, the high ups there, and I understand their whole thinking in the process. So in terms of being a disruptor, first and foremost, the rickshaw, the tuk-tuks, as we call it here, they are essentially, specifically at this point, tours. So we're not running taxi.
Right.
We're not on the street competing with buses. And I think people need to understand that. I know earlier there was some that made the suggestion that, we're operating in this kind of way and we're taking work from taxi and all that stuff. At this point, it's not in my business model to run taxi up and down the street, right? So, but even if we were to do that, right, it would then mean that taxi, just like in the United States when Uber came, taxi may need to step up their game.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with that at
So
all.
that's what happened. When Uber came and they provide a better product, the taxi man was scratching their head like, oh, it's affecting our business.
Yellow cab and so on.
Yellow cab. But it forced them to step up their game. And that's what happened. You would jump in a taxi and you see someone old shoes in the back of your car, they're smelly and all of that stuff. But the Uber is clean. So taxi man would have to be like, well, I have to make my car clean. Right? So if it wasn't our business model to do that, it would just make everyone step up to the plate.
I think disruption, Airbnb is another good disruption.
Exactly.
That have increased and
Yeah.
improved the, what is the offerings for
Yeah,
hotel stay and so on.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't see an issue with it from that point of view. But how did the name Tuk Tuk? I mean, it sounds
Well,
very
it's,
interesting.
yeah, well, Tuk Tuk, people think I named it Tuk Tuk, but it's not really me. That is the name that's what is called out there, like in Sri Lanka. That's what it's
okay,
called.
okay.
Yeah. So it's not me just
Yeah.
calling it Tuk Tuk. That's what the
I
universal
must
name.
take a ride in a Tuk Tuk.
You are anytime.
But
Chris.
tell us, Junior, about the challenges you've had in terms of do you need special license for operations? Tell us about that, how well you've been facilitated with this new enterprise. And of course, I'm not forgetting the e-bikes, in terms of our, but the
Tuk-tuk.
tell us about that, because...
Well, everything new comes with its major challenges,
Yeah.
right? I think I'm aware of that because, even when we did the e-bike, but we go talk about the tuk-tuk specifically.
Yeah.
I've done and started a lot of businesses, around the world, but this happened to be one of the most difficult endeavor for me because it's not understood. Like the authorities they don't really have a section, they don't really have a license specifically for that. So we're caught in a place where they're saying initially the talk was, okay, you need a H class, and then but we can't give you an H class. But then, they say, they'll give you an H class. No, you need an H class, but to operate this vehicle now, you need a C class license to operate this. But a C class license is someone who drives a bus.
Yeah.
So you can't take someone who drives a bus and make them drive a bike, because essentially it's not the same thing. It's a handlebar versus a steering wheel.
Yeah.
So the law hasn't really caught up to the idea, and we're saying, I've met with everyone to try to understand the business model. We have issues where, with the police officers not quite understanding what we're trying to do. And all we're saying is, we're the second in the Caribbean region to have tuk-tuks. It's in Antigua. Find out what Antigua is doing, because Antigua and England and all those places, and them, the driver's license requirement, as I have the law here, it says operator must possess a valid driver's license appropriate to the class of vehicle. Right? This may involve passing a driver's test specific to the motorized rickshaw. So if that is the case in Antigua, why would someone need to take a bus license to operate a tuk-tuk? And it's not opening up just for me. It's opening up a new market because other people would come in. So they had to have a political will to want to open up a market that later on would benefit everyone.
But I don't know if that is political will. Here is a gentleman, an entrepreneur with a new business model. Our laws are not adequate to facilitate it. Oh my, just do the normal safety things, understand from a police point of view the securities and so on, and then make an amendment to the traffic regulation.
We have been begging. Let me tell you something.
If Antigua could do it, why we can't?
If I could look into this camera and say this right now, that this is something that is really disrupting the business as it stands. Non-stop, the misunderstanding of what we are, what we do, having the requirement
so
for
let me ask you,
C-class.
Junior, what license a guy who rides a motorbike had to have? What class?
A and an A1, yeah.
So what is the difference with a rickshaw? It's a motorbike
It's a
on three
motorbike.
wheels.
Yes, exactly. And that is what we are trying to say. We are trying to say that we cannot have a bus driver a tuk-tuk. In fact, so they told me this. I have to do this. So all this week, I put out that I need C-class drivers.
Right.
I had 5 bus drivers who said, yes, they want to try this.
Okay.
And the guy came there, he couldn't even start the tuk-tuk. He couldn't even start
It's
it.
a different.
It's a handlebar.
It's a handlebar.
Yeah,
It's not a steering wheel.
wheel.
The guy don't even know where the gear is because it's the bike.
It's a bike.
But if somebody with an A-class or A1 came in, they know, okay, boom, they're good.
Because I rode on one and I like what it was doing. It was in Bolio last week, and where the meeting was taking place, there was a short distance, but the tuk-tuks provided where we parked the shuttle, and it was convenient. It was fun, actually. It was fun.
I mean, we have a form of a tuk-tuk in hotels.
Yes.
They want to carry you from one place.
from one place to the next.
Junior, hopefully that would be sorted out. But Junior, about the e-bikes, of course, you've introduced this a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years?
No, not 2 or 3. It's 1 year.
1 year? Oh my God. But tell us about this, though.
But the e-bike, I saw the e-bike in operation in Puerto Rico. I also saw it in Bonaire, and I just thought that it was great. Like I couldn't get on a bike because it was all taken. I like, you know what? I'm going to bring this to Grenada, and we did. It was probably one of the best thing that I could have done. Best investment I could have made, and it's working well. A lot of people are renting it. We're having a lot of tours with various hotels, and we're taking them inside of Grenada, where no cars.
So transport take you from here to the location, or you ride from
Right.
St. George's to...
Right, great question. So when we started, what we did was we spent 2 months and we map out trails in every parish.
Okay.
Right? And say someone said, okay, they want a difficult level of 8, which is pretty difficult. We say, okay, well, St. John's, St. Mark.
Okay.
So we take them to St. John, we have a start location, and we go to the trail. It might be difficult.
Must be exciting.
It is really...
Chris, you going to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love if you guys could
It's
try.
a 4-wheel.
Yeah, no, 2 wheels, come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Ask
It's not a tricycle,
No
it's
training
a
wheels.
bicycle. Come
No
on.
training wheels.
Junior, any final word you want to say
No,
here?
I'm very passionate about the licensing requirement for the tuk-tuks because it's really hindering the business operation. I want to be compliant and I want this to work. But, you know,
We have a government that's transformative.
it hasn't reached tuk-tuk yet.
Hasn't reached up. It's coming. It's coming,
like
Chris.
that.
Hasn't reached
It's
up.
hindering the...
I'm a private sector person, so I'm not
Yeah,
patient.
Junior, I really, because this is the
Not
kind
patient
of
with it.
things we need here, more innovations and new things, you know.
Yeah.
And the point is, as you indicated, it's happening in Antigua. I mean, what's the big deal?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so
And I mean, the law, I easily pulled that up and I sent it to the authorities.
Yeah. So
hopefully they make that change soon.
appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Viewers,
Thank
we'll take a short break now. We come back, we'll have our friends from the Rastafari community. Stay with us.
Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, see our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for Life and Allied Laboratories, we're taking care of Grenada.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.
Welcome back, viewers, to MTV Community Forum. And this section of our program, we have our two guests. One is Bongo Star, and the other one is Bongo Ruan. These are two brothers from the Rastafari organization for centralization. And this conversation is timely because, as you're aware, that Grenada is considering, well, it's past considering, Grenada is looking at introducing legislation, a bill in the parliament to consider the legalization, the decriminalization of cannabis, of marijuana. So we want to hear your perspective on this critical change and what it means to culture, religion, and the wider society. So, gentlemen, welcome to the program. We're pleased to have you. How do you feel about the fact that the government is moving forward in short time, as early later this month, to decriminalize marijuana? What does this weed mean for you? What is the significance of it?
Eli, glory to word, glory to song, and glory to the power of the true and living I, highly Selassie and impress my name. Yes, I. Bongo Run, Nyabingi, member of the ROC, Rastafari Organization for Centralization, basically the secretary, you know. And what the government about to do, it's, as they say, it's much bigger than Grenada, because it's a CARICOM legislation that been passed for CARICOM countries in the region to follow suit with the cannabis and the development in the industry of the cannabis. So what Grenada is doing is what all other countries in the region already done. So Grenada is basically trying to catch up, you know. And this is the greatest thing that you can do for the indigenous people, the Rastafari community, because the cannabis it's sacred. It's an I sacrament. Is the epicenter of our worship, and liberty, and way of life. You know, so the cannabis is essential because this is what have deprived Rastafari community from advancing and growing and developing, you know, their people because of that sacred plant. Because as you can see, the world get to realize what Rasta been saying in lines of the cannabis and the beneficial purpose that it have and it provide. Because when you're talking about development and clean energy and, you know, climate change, you have a plant that can withstand all this.
Let me ask, are you concerned about the commercialization of cannabis, which could remove or strip it from its sacred meaning within the Rastafari community, becomes commercial and is no longer seen as a spiritual herb?
Well, the thing about it, what I would say, cannabis, no matter how you use it, it's medical. No matter how you use it, it's a medicine. Yeah, you drink it, you eat it, it's medicine. That's a purpose of the cannabis. You know, so commercialize it.
From a religious, sacramental point of view.
Yeah.
How critical is that for you to have legally the decriminalization of it, so it implies that your usage is more freer in your religious sect than what you do in your religious worship?
Yeah, it is sacrament, it's secret, it's a right, you see? So it's how the church uses the bread and the wine for the rituals and the rites. Yeah. We are using the cannabis, you know, using the ganja, the herb. You see, so it's secret, it's the epicenter of the worship, it's the engine room of the Nyabingi order for energy and inspiration and stuff. So that's what I use, you know, yeah.
You have been fighting to get that for years. How long have you been articulating and pressing for this to be recognition legally and otherwise?
Well, it's forever. But then come 2021, you know, because since 2018, there was to put on 2021, the government decided to make a move. And it's from there I started to agitate. It's from there I started to ask the government for rights of indigenous people to go out on the street to have ganja. Because though they're trying to decriminalize now, they never do the sensitizing part, the education part of the people to disseminate knowledge about the ganja and the secretness and industry and stuff like that. So I is the one who really did the sensitization part of the marijuana. And now I'm saying that I'm going to decriminalize it this month. But we have not get no information. We have not get no communication. Though the breeding was on the wrong table, but now somebody is trying to sideline.
And decriminalization is different than legalization.
Yes.
Because
Understand,
it's basically you're changing the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
And legalization
Yes,
is a
and
wider concept. Than
Yeah.
That's when you
decriminalization
create-
speaks to if you get caught with a spliff.
So
or
basically,
a
you're changing
certain
the law.
amount, yes, you
you
wouldn't
know.
get a criminal record.
Yes, I.
So that is why it's decriminalized. So
And
Yeah.
it opens that up in that sense.
Yeah, but then the sacrament is without limits. It's without limits, you know.
Meaning what?
Like you can say it's £5 or £20 for a tabernacle for a congregation, right? Yeah, so that is a part of INI indigenousness. But then you cannot want to give us like sacrament. You know,
Yeah, but
whenever the situation occurred, we are wide open. Not only for sacramental right, but all the other rights coming towards
So
it.
the question in my mind will be, and I'm playing devil's advocate here now, so we'll tell you all. If they say 10 pounds or they say 20 pounds, they say you don't want no limit. So how do you control the
So-
use of it as a sacrament
Yeah, but it's not
outside
so-
of what you do?
So
But
what I would say-
it's not I and I what already saying that, but that come from CARICOM. Is a, you know, is a order. Because we, I and I is the one, you know, the Rastafari suffer the most.
Yeah, but CARICOM said it's unlimited.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
so
yeah,
what
yeah,
I
this
would-
was law. Law
let-
talking towards law.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
CARICOM people state, once it decriminalized, Rasta is exempt from all that, the Rastafari community, because and I are the ones who face the atrocity and went through all this. They are the ones who deprive I from development and retard the economics of cannabis.
Decriminalization give you quotas.
Yes,
Yeah, so if Rasta gets caught, let's say with more than 5 spliffs, if that is the quota, and you have 40 spliff on you, and the police stop you, you could be charged.
No, that's why I say it's unlimited for the
What the Chris, I've looked at the CARICOM paper, and what it talks about with the Rastafarian community, it's true. It admits that these are the ones that have bear the burden or the pain of the criminalization of cannabis. But what it talks about also is that in the commercialization aspect of it, the Rastafarian community should be given an opportunity to benefit from the economics of it then also.
That is a commercialization.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and it should
Yeah.
not be left singularly to the big
Sacrament.
business,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But the point I want to raise, there's some fear that increased cannabis use can lead to social and mental health issues. Do you see this at all? Is that a concern of you?
Well,
Because
what I
some
would
people
say-
feel that way, and that's why.
As in the CARICOM paper also spoke about that.
Yes.
What I would say in relation to that, it's education. That's the key.
Okay, I'm listening. Yeah.
It's education. The people need to be empowered. You know, the people. Once you are educated, then you can make decisions on your own. And if you're not educated, like for example, as you know the amount of cannabis that is sufficient for you, right? Because of your experience. Yeah. So you work with that limit. This is what you work with. So because you have the education, how it works for the eye, then it wouldn't cause any interrupt with how you do things, because you already know this is sufficient for I. So once you have that amount, you have the knowledge that.
What
once you
about
have
young
that amount-
people? Or we can say the same thing with alcohol. We're supposed to know what our
When you're getting tight, stop drinking.
what amount you can take, you know. But there's a lot of there's lots of abuse in it. We see a lot of problems, and so people are also speculating that we could see similar developments within the legalization of cannabis.
That's the reason the policy is, Grenada is the first country that is setting 21, the age 21,
Yeah.
as the limit for cannabis use in Grenada. And no other country, because I are the ones who was there shaping the policies
Okay.
and the critical thinking of the people to ensure that the mind is properly developed, you know. And 21 is that age, you know. So all other region is 18, you
Yeah.
know. So
because again, it's the science behind the brain.
The
Yes,
problem
sir.
there, though,
Yes,
Chris,
sir.
is enforcement.
Yeah. And the thing is, you know, at 20, you're not supposed to. At 21, you're supposed to. How you controlling that 2021?
Is there what the mind developed?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the point. So I hear you. And if you leave it up to an individual, a young man or a young woman at 20, you say, as far as I concern, my mind developed, and I am waiting for the legal age of 21.
But it's the law.
Yeah, it may be law. That's how we enforce the law.
It's law. Yeah.
Because we have a lot of laws on the books.
Yeah.
We have a lot of traffic laws, and if you see traffic laws breaking every day,
Yeah.
how do you enforce it and get control? You can have law. Law don't mean you have control.
But law is regulation.
Yes, and that is it. How you regulate.
Yeah.
That's our bodies to regulate.
But it's, it's true education again. That's why I in Grenada is the only one who was going out with the ganja and add value to it, getting right from the Minister of Security, which is the Prime Minister. Right? So I is the one who go out and sensitize the people, show them if you are pain, the oil and all the different.
It's the medicinal part.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I have no problem with the medicinal part. My question is around the control for our young people. And for example, I'm not sure if the law speaks to it about use in public areas. You were on the committee. What does it speak about that?
Well, when it comes to public areas, as you say, if you look in Grenada, they said smoking cigarette is legal, right? And
well, not in certain public areas. Not in certain public areas.
So basically, in the policy shaping, that it state that, when it comes to like school areas and this type of areas, you have a certain 100 feet away from these areas. So the policy is shaped around every variable question that could be asked, and I had brainstormed.
So if you're less than 100 feet, the police could stop you?
Yeah. But the thing about it, you're not gonna get a record. Yeah, you're not gonna get a record for that charge.
Yeah, that's the criminal
Yes,
decriminalization aspect of it.
But there's a different thing in law, because the police are there to enforce law. That is a strict mandate. If the policy and the law says 100 feet from a school, you're not supposed to smoke, and you're less than 100 feet, you're 50 feet or you're 90 feet, and the police stops you and say, this is illegal, how are you not going to be getting a record, a charge for it and so on?
As you said, you're not going to get a record to tamper with your
police record?
Well, your
for your future.
Your
down the road if you have to do a CV and
yes,
so on.
So this wouldn't be a record, but there will be a fine. Yeah, there can be a fine rather than having a stain to a charge or anything. So ones will think you don't want to pay that fine.
So what you're saying, there would be a designated area. In other words, you can't use the herb, the cannabis, within a certain in certain public places.
Yes,
so it's illegal.
Just as how we have in cigarettes. Cigarettes have certain zones where you could smoke.
But exactly. But there's another how. I mean, this legislation is likely to happen this month, according to the government.
Yeah.
What changes for you, really? What are you looking forward to as this happens?
What I'm looking for is acknowledgement and a public apology from the government, the ones in power, to the Rastafari for all what Rastafari have been through. Yeah. And we're talking about reparative justice for what have been done. So during the Hopeville period, over 300 Rasta was arrested, incarcerated. Yeah. And they went to the worst atrocity. The only place you had a concentration camp apart from Grenada is Hitler. So what our people face is dread. So our Rastafari community, Rastafari Organization for Centralization are calling on the government for, and I have sent forward a letter with what I are asking of them, that I need lands, 300 acres for the families that they picked up and went through all this. And so I use that figure to signify the importance of that land to use for development machinery equipments. And I had sent that letter towards the first government, government change, but everything's continue. So even this government, we have sent a letter to them. Even the Prime Minister, we hold multiple discussion, and he read the letter, and Rasta state what I and I are looking for, and I want to be, and I need to be a part of the decision making. And a percentage of everything that have to deal with marijuana when that bill is passed, that 15% should go to the Rastafari community to further that reparative justice of healing.
So you're saying to me, let's assume I'm a private sector person and I want to go into the medicinal aspect of the herb, and I open up my business. And you're saying for every dollar I make, I have to give 15 cents?
Basically,
in my private business?
That's why, listen what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking for clarification.
Yes, sir. Anything have to deal with cannabis, just like in Antigua.
But you don't own the cannabis.
Yeah,
you don't
own it.
No, and I are the ones who suffer for it. So therefore, there is a recompensation for that.
That's the reparative part.
Yes,
right. So that's for the government to deal with, not for me and my business.
No.
You can't charge me for that.
But remember,
you can't charge
you're
me
not
for
coming
that.
out from your pocket directly, but you are working under the government, yeah?
Because you've been taxed.
No.
You've been taxed,
yeah, so government can do what they want to the tax.
So we are asking the government.
Oh, not the business.
No, I'm asking the government. Yes, sir, because the government is the one responsible for that reparative.
Plus all the persons who would have got criminal records,
to be
those records are
expunged.
expunged. So that's a positive thing. So you believe that this is happening? Well, the government announced that this is happening as early as
the law is going to deal with the expunging and once it decriminalization.
What about the amount
of the reparative part will take a while?
Yeah, the amount of plants or trees are permitted per family, per individual. How is this? What is proposed? You were on the committee. What was proposed?
It was proposed 5.
Okay.
And you're looking at, I think it was 28 ounces.
28 ounces?
Yeah, allowed for individual.
Okay.
But when it comes to the Rastafari, there is no limit because it's used for the sacrament. So, for example, I'm a grower, and I come from my vineyard where I produce for the house, and you meet on the street with, let's say, 100 pounds. It exceeds the limits of what is allowed. But being that I'm part of the Rastafari community, I have a card. That is issued that I'm a grower. So I am allowed to carry that amount.
Can you sell this product that you have? Can you be commercial with it? That's the question.
Yeah,
or is it for personal use?
No, because here what it is. Even in CARICOM it shows that, and I have the right, being as a sacrament, I have the right to have dispensaries.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how.
So this has been considered in the new legislation coming up with the government?
Yes.
But we have not heard the government speaking towards Rastafari. And then let's see, the burden was, and I was on, and the sideline was, we don't get no information that we are here, making a clarion call to them.
So make the call. Go ahead, make the call.
I just want to explore something with you. I mean, I play devil's advocate.
Yeah, every time.
So, if a grower comes from St. Vincent with 100 pounds, and he's not a Rastafari, or he doesn't have a card to show that he's from a Rastafari movement, what is the law going to treat him as? Could he be arrested for that amount because he doesn't have the card?
Yes.
But he would not be getting a record.
No. Outside of the record, I mean, I'm talking here now about
he can be
because you say you have your card from the ROC.
Yeah.
The ROC gives you, as a result of that, you produce your card, you're allowed to move with a certain amount of quantities freely.
Yeah.
But if somebody comes from St. Vincent, as I say, or St. Lucia, and they come up and pull up with a boat in St. Andrews with 500 pounds.
Okay.
It doesn't work so. They will still be charged because they don't have the card. They don't have the sacramental card.
And
because the card is a sacramental card.
Right.
Yeah.
And how are we controlling that thing with the card? Does St. Vincent have a sister organization like the ROC?
Yeah, Antigua too as well. I was in
Yeah.
Antigua. And
Because the
it was
Rastafari
good.
community
Yeah.
is one body. We are speaking with one voice to deal with cannabis. Yeah. Even in Antigua, the
Yeah.
Virgin just returned from Antigua,
That's about nice
and
of
it
the
was
Rastas.
sponsored by the government. of
Gentlemen,
Grenada.
gentlemen, we're running out of time.
You see
Yeah.
the control
I wanna-
issues I'm
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, because it's still rules and regulation in the
That's
city
right.
Gentlemen, I want to
requirements.
give you an opportunity to make any closing remarks for the public, for us, that you want to make right now on this issue.
Yes, I give thanks. And straight directly to the public of Grenada, you know, and letting them know that you're right, your God-given right. It's a plant, yeah? And WHO had changed it from, you know, a illicit drug to a plant, you know, so now is not the time to be silent, for your rights to be influential. You know, the rise of Africa, you can see right now. So I'm calling on the people to be empowered. Yeah, be empowered. This is part of you. This is your right. You know, and cannabis bring everything that is required for development and betterment and better living standard for all of Grenada. So I are the Rastafari, and I advocate and defend the right of Rastafari and the right of the people. Because the people have a right, and if they don't have that voice, and I had a voice to let it be known that what the people been going through, because it's not only Rasta get arrested for cannabis, you know.
But a major thing, I hear you say that yet. You're not being included in the discussions and all this coming on.
So
You want
Yeah, that is my real play here now, because
Yeah.
we are here and we are known as a non-government organization. We do a lot of work, so Black History Month, African Liberation Day. You know, we are the advocate for cannabis in sensitizing towards the whole of Grenada. And now we come into the time of implementation. And now it's like, because the Minister of Agriculture, he trying to say that Rasta divided, you want to go to talk to him, Rasta divided, and like, you could take anyone you want. But INA is the advocate. INA is a non-government organization to give INA the authority. You know what I'm saying? But we are saying to the government, you can't sideline INI, Rastafari out of the equation of cannabis. We need to be on a round table like this, discussing at how it used to be. You know, because Mr. Claude is the chairman right now, and he was on the first commission. So it's only the brethren who is out and trying to force somebody else. They had forced somebody else who spent 25 years in Canada. And then he was doing absurd things. Then they changed him. They want, they're placing somebody else again, trying to put somebody else and living on the Rastaman. Why you want to live with the Rastaman? Because he's too intelligent about his right? But we are saying to you, you cannot leave us out. So, Mr. Prime Minister, you know it's you who are giving us the right to go forward to sensitize the public about marijuana and cannabis, right? And so you know us. So, you know, so if those in the trickle down like Mr. Claude, who is the chairman, agriculture minister, who's trying to keep us out. But we are here tonight saying that you can't keep us out. Because this is by law. We're going to take all you on. So we're saying that we reinstate INI as the Rastaman. People know our face, know our face and go out with the ganja, everything we're going through. So why not keep us out? Right? So we're saying to the government, in the clarion call, to reinstate the Rastafari organization for centralization in Grenada, or in the rightful place around the round table for cannabis. And please do it fast.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's all the time.
Yeah,
we have
thanks
for the evening.
very much.
Thank you on behalf of Chris and I and MTV management and staff or technical staff. We thank you for being here with us this evening. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Good night. Bye-bye.